everyone. I'm Amy Broderick, the host of the Humanitarian Hub, and I'm here today with my good friend Marilyn Chappelle, and she's with Exceed Expectations. So, Marilyn, could you please just tell us a little bit about yourself? Welcome.
Yes, well, first, thank you for having me on, Amy. It's always good speaking with you. And yeah, just a little bit about myself. I'm Marilyn Chappelle. I was born in Minot, North Dakota, and raised at Whiteman Air Force Base here in Missouri, and graduated from high school at Warrensburg High School. I am married with three lovely girls, ages 16, 19, about to be 20, and a 24-year-old. And so, yeah, and of course, I'm doing some great work with Exceeds Expectations, but I know Amy is gonna be asking me all kind of questions about that.
Absolutely. So, yeah, why don't you just share, is there something in your background or prior work you did that sort of spurred you on to want to create an organization such as Exceed Expectations?
Well, Amy, I've always wanted to be, I guess, my own boss, I guess. And I didn't know how that looked when I was younger, but I was always in a leadership role. I started off in fast food at the age of 14, wanted to have my own job, own money. And I started at Burger King. And I was actually in Japan at that time. So that was my first job. And then when we came back to the States, then I worked at McDonald's, Arby's, Taco Bell, and then it was a retail. And when I was in retail, I ended up being in a supervisory position. And then from there, I ended up going into furniture sales. From there, I ended in banking. And in banking is where I found my passion to teach financial literacy.
Awesome. Yeah. And why don't you just give us a little scoop of how did this all begin for you? The whole idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so while I was working in the banking industry, I started as a teller, worked my way up to vice president of the credit union. And so during a 13-year time span, I was educating myself as well as learning. And as I was learning about all the different products that financial institutions offer, because I worked at a bank as well as a credit union, as I learned, I always felt the need to be able to share it with my family, share it with my friends on just different opportunities that was available to us that we never knew about, and these are opportunities to help you get out of debt, by consolidating debt, help you to reduce your overall monthly payment so you can just have some payment relief in your household. And so when I learned the tools, oh, I was making phone calls. Do you know about this?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's just talk about it for a minute. It's like growing up. Did we have anything in our school system or any structure anywhere that gave you a financial, um, platform or foundation to build anything on?
Right. I mean,
Oh,
I didn't learn about financial literacy or financial education in high school, and so a lot of mine was from trial and error. I heard my stepfather always sharing, save your money, save your money. And, still, okay, how, what percentage should I be saving? And, but trial and error, and so I think that's a lot of people's story. It's nobody really talks about it at the table, in families. I know we didn't really discuss finances in families, and that's most people's story. Finances was something that the adults focused on, and it wasn't a child's place to ask them about that.
yeah.
And so,
Well,
but yeah.
not even all adults. I mean, I can honestly say I was I was married to a CPA and I let him handle a lot of that, which I know there are women that until I had my own business and I had to pay attention, or you make mistakes, like you said, and you're like, I better figure this out, or you're driven and you actually want to go create something amazing, and you better figure money out, um, so with
Yeah,
all of that, that's kind of where people land, unless it's something that was really driven into them at a young age by a parent or someone that really saw the value of it. But I would say the majority, I used to do coaching and we had a whole segment on money beliefs and looking at your money habits and empowerment
yeah.
around that. And I mean, there's a lot of um, psychology tied to
That's
money.
psychology, absolutely. And a lot of times it's tied back to what we saw when we were younger. Our wherever we lived when we were younger, whether it was with your parents or your grandparents, whatever that environment was, that's your first teacher when it comes to financial literacy. And so that's one of the things that we pride ourselves at Exceeds Expectations, is that we take time to talk about that financial psychology. Where did you learn about your money behaviors and your habits? Why do you perceive it the way you do? And so we take time to dig deep to uproot the stinking thinking, the bad financial habits and behaviors. So then that way we can lay a strong foundation of, more positive and abundant belief system around money, and making sure that, people don't look at it as a goal and see it as a tool rather than a goal to help you to be able to achieve your dreams. So we're really excited about the work that we do. We're changing lives because we're changing mindsets, and that's a huge thing. Is that it's all about the mindset, and really taking time to face some of those, because some of it is not fun. A lot of times it's even attached to some trauma, right? Nobody really likes to, sit in their trauma and really bring that back up, right? But sometimes that's what we must do in order to be able to move forward, overcome, and be able to help the next person, right? And I think that's what it's all about, is as we overcome some challenges, reach back and help the next person overcome it, because they can have hope by seeing you and, seeing, where you are today versus where you were before. So.
Exactly. And I know some people might think money is the actual solution, like you were just saying. However, you can look at people that have won the lottery, for example, and if they don't have the capacity to really receive that money, or like you said, they've had a trauma or habits that have caused a certain type of behavior, they're inclined to go right back to that old pattern. And so I'm really happy to hear that you are working that piece in, because money is uncomfortable for a reason to a lot of people. And it's because they've got these hidden agendas they don't even know are running the show. And so the more that can be brought forward and dealt with, the more they can create the freedom with the money and use it as the tool that you're describing. So, yeah, it's cool.
Absolutely. And you're so right, Amy, because there's so many emotions that's tied to money, whether it be shame, whether it be guilt, embarrassment, anxiety, all those emotions are real. And we even talk about that, money and emotions, because it is real, right? But then also taking the time, where is it tied to? Where's the root? Let's find the root. Let's continue to keep digging deep. And we're there to encourage you and to come alongside you and let you know that you're not alone. You're not alone. So another thing that we do too is we're transparent. Everybody has a story. It's just whether you want to share it, is that person going to share it or not? So yeah, there's just so many great things that can be driven from taking the time. So that's so true, Amy. What you stated about emotions, because money and emotions is real. And so, I mean, there's so many different emotions like guilt, shame, anxiety around finances that is so important to slow down and to take the time to see where it was rooted from. And, you know, that's where freedom is achieved by being able to take that time to face it, then trying to overcome it. I mean, I think you free yourself when you're able to identify, you take the time to acknowledge and identify where it's rooted from, and then using the tools to be able to overcome those.
Yeah, that's great. So why don't you share with us a little bit about how you transitioned from the bank to starting Exceed Expectations and what exactly you all do there?
Absolutely. So in 2016, I had the opportunity to be able to resign from my position as vice president at a credit union. And I went to work alongside my husband at Chapel Electric. We own an electrical contracting company. And so in the 2016, I was I was afforded the opportunity to be able to resign from my position as vice president of Kansas City Credit Union. And at the end of first quarter in 2017, my husband came to me and he said, you know, continue to keep pursuing your dreams. And he knew that I had a passion for teaching financial literacy and wanted to see everyone be able to achieve their financial dreams. And so he was like, go ahead and start that nonprofit. And so that's how Exceeds Expectations came about, is in that moment, right? So yes, that's how
Now
Exceeds.
your whole desire was to empower people with financial literacy, also end, you know,
Generational
racial
poverty. Yeah.
and
Well, you
all.
know, Amy,
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, so I saw a great need while I was in the banking industry where people were coming in for their needs, but they were being turned away. And nobody really taking the time to show them and how to come back with that yes, how to get that yes. And so I found myself while at in the banking industry is pulling them back into my office, going over their credit report and showing them, you know, how to clean up their credit. And it wasn't until this guy came back to me and he said, Marilyn, because you took the time with me to go over my credit report, I was able to save our family home. His grandmother had passed away and their home was about to go to probate. I mean, it was they were about to lose their family home. And so he was able to purchase that home, and not only purchase that home, he was able to purchase his first home, primary residence, all because somebody took the time to go over his credit report and come back with that yes.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's empowering for sure. And so you're addressing it in a community that normally wouldn't get that kind of attention, and lifting them up. So I know when I met you, and so just a little quick backstory with Marilyn. I had founded right around that time a women's empowerment group here in Kansas City called Polka Dot Powerhouse, and it was just getting started, and I was actually recruiting people to join. And I kind of stalked Marilyn a little bit on Facebook and said, I think you'd be a good match. I like your energy. And so she came on board, and we actually worked side by side. She was one of the board members for the empowerment group, its very first couple of years. And so that's how we got to know each other. And Marilyn knows I always have had a passion to lift up nonprofits. We did that even within that group. And so that's how I got to know her and what she was about. And at that time, you were actually working with those in the prison system. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yep. That's right. I was going into the prisons in Kansas as well as Missouri. So I was working with men and women less than a year, re-entering back into society. We were taking our 6-week financial program to them, giving them the tools and equipping them with the knowledge as well as the process to take to be able to re-enter back into society with confidence, with courage, and questions that they can ask rather than just feeling like they're lost. And so, yeah, once again, empowering them to be successful,
So,
regardless of their story.
so how did that go for them? Tell me a little more about like
Uh,
as you went. So it was a 6-week program, and then as they came out of that, have you been in touch? Do you know kind of how that has supported them moving forward?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, so there's so many stories. So first I'll share a couple of them while I was in the prisons teaching. So I remember going in, and I always start by sharing our story. And so, we also face financial challenges. When I say we, my husband and I, my husband once was in prison when he was younger, and he served 1 year. And so I always share that story because, although he was in prison for a year and that tend to follow him, he still managed to be able to get his GED. He was able to go to college and get his degree for electrical mechanic. And then now he is the owner of electrical contracting company where he's, building buildings or doing contract work for buildings from the ground up, renovations, panel upgrades. And this was a guy that looked just like the people that I'm going in to serve, right? And so I share that story so they see themselves beyond where they are. And a lot of times that always breaks down the barrier. And then I share my own financial story, my own financial challenges of, being wrapped up in payday loans when I was younger. And so, just sharing those stories and then how we overcame by continuing to persevere is one thing that I believe that it has given people hope, as well as it's uplifting. But I think it's a gift, and I won't even say think, it is a gift, because we're willing to share that story. And not too many people who will go into the prisons will share their story. Even when they come out, people don't really share their story, but it's necessary. And so I remember this guy came to me after I taught one of the sessions, and he said, "Marilyn, thank you so much for coming in here." He said, because every time you come in here to teach us a lesson, right after, I'm always calling back home to my sister and I'm sharing with her what you shared with us. And I'm getting chills now because it made me change my perspective, that I wasn't just showing up for those 25 that was in the room, that the message was actually being related back, passed on back home. And that's that's the cycle that we're looking to break. And so right then and there, it allowed me to look at it from a larger perspective, that it's not just about the 25 in the room, because it's going to be a ripple effect. So that was one. Another time we went into the prison, and one of the activities that we do is we use the SMART goal template. And I remember when I was sharing with one of the ladies in prison how to take the S, the M, the A, R, T. And just for people who don't really know what that is: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time driven. And so she was stuck on the specific because, here we are breaking down goals. And I went over to her and I asked her, did she need help? And she said, yes. She said, I've never had to dream. I don't know where to start. She said, my father and my mother both was selling drugs. And as I was coming up in that household, I ended up doing the same thing. And nobody ever challenged me to dream. Sometimes that's all we're meant to do, is sent to ignite a hope, ignite a fire in someone, to let them know that they're bigger than their circumstance, that they're bigger than their mistakes that they've made in their past, but they have a whole future, because there's a date that they're going to be returning back into society. And so just giving them that hope to keep pushing on for those goals that they create and set is huge. I remember receiving a letter from a couple of couple of people who had served in prison. One individually, she had stated that, you took time to go over these SMART goals with us, and I had my goals. And she had her goals written down in black ink. And in red ink, she said, and everything in red is what I've accomplished already while I'm in here. And I'm like, wow. And some of those goals was she paid off her restitution. What? And
Wow.
while you're in prison, you've already paid it off, I mean, so it's just little stuff like that. And it was just like all these red marks going down.
Not
And once
little.
again, yeah.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
impact, you never know what the impact that you're making until you do receive some of those feedback sometime. And then some, you just got to know that you probably won't know until you probably pass away. You won't even know because you've been passed away, but they'll be sharing those stories, right? But just
Right.
knowing that you're on this earth to plant seeds, and it's going to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, those are great. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I had some impact with the prison system several years back too, as far as visiting someone. And that's what they always said. Well, I also worked with at-risk youth. And when I would go there, it was like the trust level, if you've been there and done that with them, is so much higher than it is if someone comes in cold. So I'm so happy that you're sharing that story. And I personally believe that, your experiences early on were sort of your setup for you to do this work. It's like God's sneaky way of like putting you in that circumstance so that you would have empathy and be in a position to serve at the highest level because you've been there and had an experience similar. So you have somewhere to, spring from, so to speak.
Absolutely. And then COVID happened, so we couldn't go in. And so so during COVID and even after COVID, we started working with men and women who are in transition on the outside. So they might be in transitional housing. And so we started partnering with organizations who work with former incarcerated individuals. And so we bring our programming to them. And then, God put in my spirit to start in 2020, 2020, to start a youth financial leadership program so they won't sit idle while during COVID, right? And to keep them from that prison pipeline. We didn't want to see them go into prisons, right? And so being able to equip them and inspire them to not only learn financial literacy, but also leadership skills as well.
That's cool. Well, that's what I was going to ask. So you have so adult financial stability program. I know you have that, right?
Yep.
So do you want to just briefly touch on the program so that if there is someone watching that's in the area, for example, Kansas City, and they want to bring you in, they would know a little bit more?
Yeah, so we serve youth and adults, and we're all about uplifting families. So then that way we can uplift our communities, right? And so we have an adult financial stability program and a youth financial leadership program. Both of those are curriculum based. Our adults is 6 weeks. Our youth is 4 to 5 weeks. We love taking them into other organizations. We love partnering and collaborating with other organizations in the community. And even if you don't live here in Kansas City and you're out of state, we love to partner with you too. And so we bring our curriculum-based programming to you. And it does come with a curriculum book. And so we start off with financial psychology with our adults and our youth. Our youth are never too young to learn about financial literacy, as well as creating and setting a strong foundation.
So,
Another.
so just to interrupt, in the areas outside of Kansas, obviously in Kansas City, you can go to them and you can gather in person or to their organization, or if it's a somewhere like Faith Hope or Turning Point or something, you can actually go to the location. However, if they're
Yeah.
out of the area, are you doing it on a teaching platform
Virtual.
like a Zoom or something? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Cool. So they
That's
can just
right.
gather their group, set a time with you, and it can happen that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So whatever your needs are, however you would like to conduct it, that's, we're flexible. We also have our Girls Fired Up program. We're big on acronyms here, okay? So Fired Up is stands for financial literacy, investments, relationships, earnings, understanding, discipline, understanding, and perseverance. Fired Up. So we take each of those letters and make it a topic for the month. And then we always relate it right back to financial literacy and vice versa. So it's either it impacts your finances or vice versa. Vice versa, your finances will impact each of those areas. And so we just show and encourage our young girls to show up, to have courage, to have confidence, and we teach them also leadership skills, which is another life skill that is needed. And so we do partner with a lot of communities, partners in, community. Yeah, we do have community partners. I'm sorry. Have a lot of individuals in the community that are experts that we partner with that come in and help facilitate our program, for us, for our girls, because I think it's very important that they're exposed to different industries as far as careers, as well as it's important just for them to see other people too, so they can be able to ask them questions on, like, how did they start and why are they currently working there? And so we also have a film summer camp. We love our film summer camp. So our film summer camp is, again, a acronym: financial literacy, investments, leadership, and marketing. It's an 8-week summer program for high school students, and they receive a stipend every week during that 8 weeks. And so we once again bring in people from the community who are in like the banking industry, videographers, people who are in marketing. We bring them in to help teach lessons, each week, to help us with our youth. And it's just all about equipping them for their next level, right? And so we're real big on that. And then lastly,
Now, is that just local? Is that a local thing only, Marilyn, or is there a component?
Local.
Okay.
Yep, because it is in person. So they it's from 8 to 12 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they have to show up in business casual and be ready to work. And they put together 2 events, a teen summit, as well as our back to school resource fair that we have annually. So, oh yeah, we equip them for success for sure, as well as they get the experience. So they're building their resume as well. And then lastly, we have our electrical apprenticeship program for graduating high school seniors. So any high school senior that is graduating who wants to go down the electrical path, then what we do is we teach them financial literacy for 12 weeks. And then from there, they have an on the job paid training with Chapel Electric. And after they're with us for a year, or with Chapel Electric for a year, we actually pay for them a scholarship to go to ABC Electrical School.
That's wonderful. What a nice tie-in with your own company. I love it.
Yeah, got to partner with Chapel Electric.
That's right. Wow, you've grown so much since I first met you and the organization first started. It's wonderful to see, yeah, what you're creating. I know your team has grown too. It was just you in the beginning.
It was me for the first 5 years, absolutely. And then we were blessed to get some support from some amazing organizations who are seeing our impact in the community. And so at the end of 2022, we were afforded the opportunity to have our first substantial amount of funding to be able to pay for for more bodies, more hands and feet.
Yeah.
And so
So you've got interns and you've got a board now and all kinds of stuff going on, right?
yeah, we were thriving before I was able to hire. We were thriving off of just our volunteers and our board. So I always used to say we're small, but we're mighty,
Yeah.
right? And so then once we begin to start getting staff, now we have a youth financial coordinator, or I'm sorry, a youth program coordinator, as well as we have a COO now. And so, yeah, we're doing great things. And we still have a mighty board and a mighty volunteer team. And so we're doing what we can with what we have until we get more support and funding, because the demand is increasing for our programming and our services, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so can you speak, so the first 5 years, just as someone new that might be just starting their own organization, to like what has been your challenges or hurdles that you had to jump through to kind of get to the point? I mean, I think you're in kind of a sweet spot now, but when you're first beginning, there's a lot going on. So anything you
Yeah.
want to share or contribute to someone that might be starting something new right now?
Absolutely. I would definitely say to keep your vision and your mission before you. Starting out, sometimes it could be challenging as far as time, um, the capacity, and the load. It sometimes can be overwhelming, right? And exhausting, because it is just you. And maybe people aren't really seeing, the work that you're doing to get behind you and support you with the funds that you might need right now, right? But keep your mission, keep your vision before you at all times, and know that it's bigger than you, and realize that you are, or remind yourself that you are answering a call. And don't give up, because your yes is the answer for someone else. And so if you're not showing up saying yes, and not saying yes to everything, right? But I'm saying showing up with your yes every day you get up, and you're showing up to your job, your mission, your vision, then you're impacting somebody else's life. So you're an answer for someone. So they're looking for you. So just continue to keep reminding yourself that. And then I would say also, another challenge for me was not really doing as much networking that I probably should have done early on. I think as you're building relationships, if you focus more on networking and building relationships, that can equate to, that is a resource, put it that way. And that's considered as capital as well. That's assets. That's considered as assets and capital, your relationship. So those relationships can open doors for you, create opportunities for you. So I would encourage you to invest in yourself, and yeah, show up to some networking events, and get to know some people and build some relationships, because you will need them.
For sure. I'm a big believer in collaboration, not competition, and
That's
also surrounding yourself with brilliance, people that are better at some aspect that isn't your strength, as an
yeah.
entrepreneur or somebody that owns an organization like yourself, you have to wear a lot of hats in the beginning, like you said, but eventually it's like, if you just get, this is not my strength, I'm gonna
There you
to delegate that out and find somebody that's just so excited to do that piece. That can mean all the difference in kind of freeing you up so that you can go do the part that you're best at. And so I know from coaching people for years and years, that was a big thing. It's like, let go of some control.
And it's hard when it's your baby, but in order to grow and to have healthy growth, it is important that you surround yourself with people who, one, has been where you're going, as well as people that are just have some wisdom in different areas, right? I want to add too that to make sure that you're not, especially if you're a nonprofit and you have to create a board, don't be just putting your family and your friends on the board. That is not, don't do it. Seek out people in different industries, whether, it's financial, whether it's law, whether it's health. You look at different in different industries and maybe go on LinkedIn, find some events to begin to start showing up to and start building relationships. And then there you go, begin to start asking, because it's bigger than the family and the friends. And so you would definitely want to make sure that you're have some diversity on your board to surround you with helping guiding you to the next level.
Yeah, that's key. So what has surprised you? What did you not anticipate? I mean, good or bad surprises, but what has been, as you take this journey on, you're kind of in this one place, and then as it goes, it becomes its own thing, right? You kind of birth it out into the world, and then it becomes more. So what has surprised you about that?
Yeah, so I would say that just when you don't think people are seeing the impact that they're watching, that or maybe that they're being impacted by the programming because they were sitting in a workshop, people see. So even though you might not get the applause, you may not get an amen, right? You may not get an email, saying that everything went well or that you're doing good. Know that people are watching. They're watching, and it all will come to pass at the appointed time on open doors, next levels. Just keep showing up, be consistent. And I think that is key. No matter if you're getting applause or not, keep showing up and being consistent at what God has called you to.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah. And I know you and know that your faith is front and center in this whole
yeah,
organization. And so that's one of your success secrets right there, is that you are constantly in motion, listening
oh
and
yeah,
following through on the guidance you're being given to take this to the next place. So that can't be underestimated on any level.
uh, at all. I always tell people that, hey, if they don't take away nothing else, they're gonna leave with some hope. They're gonna leave with some hope, because that's gonna show up at all times. And that's how Exceeds Expectations was inspired. It was inspired by Ephesians 3:20. Now unto him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ask or think. And so, hey, if you just show up with your small idea, or with your big idea, right? Because it's always big to us, but it's small to God, and he's always gonna just make it greater than what you can imagine. So yeah.
Sure. And yeah, I'm constantly surprised by how God shows up in the most miraculous ways. And you
um,
think you have it all figured out, and it's like comes in from all these other directions, and you're like, oh, I didn't see that, but it's like so awesome. So just even for me, that this has all been a complete divine idea to start this
yeah,
channel, and it's kind of like just started and it will build. It's so we have to trust in that and our own knowing, because so much of this is a journey to it's a journey for us, but it's a journey for everyone we touch too. So that is kind of where it's all at when you decide. I mean, humanitarian work is about service to others, and it's not about our own individual needs. It's about how can we keep moving forward in a way that gifts to our fellow man, our fellow woman. It's like, what can we do? So
right.
so if we're talking about, so do you have ideas right now about how you plan to even move beyond what you're doing now and scale up? Is there other things you're wanting to fund in the future that we can just talk briefly about?
Absolutely. So, we're looking to get into the schools. We would love to get our programming into the schools to, where they're able to eventually take our program without us being there and actually begin to start serving their students. We see that nationwide, where people are buying our financial literacy in the box and being able to facilitate to their students, and it exceeds expectations, just become a household name. I mean, we have a financial empowerment for families program, which I had forgot to tell you about, but it's a six for parents to bring their youth to the sessions, and we provide dinner to them from 6 to 6:30, and then from 6:30 to 7:30 we separate the children from the parents, and they each have their own workshops that they're learning the same subject. And so we would love to even get that into every organization who sees that as a need. And so we just want to continue to keep growing, but most importantly, we want to make sure that we're transforming and impacting lives for the better, and it begin to break cycles to where it changed the trajectory of their lives and their kids' lives.
Absolutely. Now, I also saw on your site you are looking for financial coaches. Is that right?
Yes. So we are looking for people who are passionate about finances. They're passionate about helping others to achieve their financial dreams. And so, yes, we are looking for financial coaches, because as the demand increases for our programming and our services, we're needing more people to be able to go descend out to be able to facilitate these programs.
And is that something, again, that's locally based, or would that also apply if someone was, say, out of state or out of the
Yep.
area?
Yep. So it's local. Yep.
Okay, cool. So let me just see on my notes, and we've talked about a lot. Is there anything about the organization I missed asking you about?
I don't think so. I think that was everything. And yeah, I think that was everything. 'Cause I think
Oh,
I'm on
can you
anyway.
talk for a minute about the what I know that I had referred you to a Turning Point. Did you start working with them?
So we haven't. So we went there and we set up tables there for a couple weeks, but it didn't blossom into anything. So I
Not yet.
forgot what the communication was, but at least we got to be able to serve there
Yeah,
and to share. And I loved meeting what was her name?
Kathy.
Was
Kathy.
Kathy. I'm like, I know it was a yeah. And I'm glad I met her. So I'll probably end up circling back, about mid-year and see, okay, hey, let's try again.
Yeah. So anywhere, so
Yeah.
just trying to
But
help people with ideas that are watching this. Um, you know, that was a program. It was like a day center for homeless to come in and get some training. Some of them were getting their GEDs, and so it was an idea to layer in some financial literacy with that. But there's other programs that have wraparound type services that are, so many things out there right now. They build a community, but then within that community, they need to provide education. And so this is where
that's
your program can fit really well, is when they're providing that support in that community. This is a piece of that. If they don't already have it figured out, then you could make it really easy for them to tie in.
yeah. Yeah, financial literacy is a need. It's a need. So whether an individual or organization realizes it or not, it's a need. And so financial health, it correlates with mental health. And so I think that's even important. And a lot of times people don't realize that we can couple them together. And we actually talk about that in our financial coaching. We do a SWOT. We strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. That you can use that on your life in general, but also with your finances. And we do use that tool. And a lot of times we're able to break down some barriers there as well. We're able to confront some challenges there. And we realize through just that activity or that exercise that, okay, that's why they don't save money or that's why they have a a problem with just showing up, right? Is because we're able to identify so many habits or really trauma. We're able to identify some trauma from just that exercise. And so yeah, so anybody who is needing a financial literacy program to complete their holistic approach, we're here. We're here. We don't just talk about credit or budgeting, because it doesn't matter how much money you make if you don't know how to manage it. And so we're going to take time with them to dig deep, to uproot, so we can help them lay a strong financial foundation. So we're all about that financial training and instruction to give them an overall well-being.
Yeah, I love that. It's much more well-rounded, because some programs are too practical based only, and it's not the whole story. And I know from years of doing other work with entrepreneurs that it's all about your capacity to receive. And if that capacity is on any level blocked, then you're going to see it showing up as a symptom around things like money. And so so it's huge. And I know you're serving a great need. I'm going to make sure in the show notes here below in the comments that you can see the or the show notes, not the comments, the Marilyn's website. She has a donation button on the site where you can go and contribute to what they're doing. I know some of you may want to, actually connect with her about bringing the services to your area and to what you're about to develop, and so that's available to you as well. I'm just thrilled that you were able to come on today, Marilyn, and that we were able to bring this conversation to Humanitarian Hub so that people can learn more, and they can also know you exist and don't have to reinvent the wheel and try to figure that piece out down the road. And it can just make life easier knowing there's something already in place. All we have to do is bring it in. And with the magic of Zoom and everything we have online anymore, it doesn't limit you to this area. It's like you can serve. I know there's people internationally that are tuning in that are going to be able to take advantage. So yeah, so that's very cool. Yeah,
I
you
appreciate it.
you
Yeah,
are
I always you anyway, but I appreciate you taking the time to invite and interview. So I'm honored.
Oh, I'm honored that you're one of my first guests. So I appreciate it. I hope this is an evergreen program that keeps showing up for people to take advantage of, a year down the road or more, So so thank you, Marilyn. Please check out exceedexpectations.com or .org, right? It's org.
That,
We'll put it on the screen so people see it. And yeah, I would look forward to touching back in at a later date and getting some more updates from you. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Marilyn. And thank you all for tuning in.